Shalom. All praises due to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Recha Wadash, the honest to the elect, apostle, bishops, elders at Great Millstone that were well. Shalom to elect Ak out there doing this work in sincerity and truth and not for vainglory in season out of season. Shalom to the men, women, sons, and daughters of the elect of the nation of Israel, which are the elect men, women, sons, and daughters of you so-called Negroes, West Indian Haitians, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians. Shalom. Okay, so I just want to bring this out. The saying that Esau, the elite international banking families, these elites, they meet up in their, they have their summit meetings amongst, the NATO and the EU nations, which are the European nations, along with America, and they say, you shall own nothing and be happy, so that's the future that they want for, well, first and foremost, for the nation of Israel, Negroes, West Indian Haitians, Latinos, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, Hispanics, but for even the poor so-called white people and all the other heathen nations of the world. But what matters is the Israelites, okay? All right? All right? Which are your so-called Negroes, West Indian Haitians, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians. And I keep on saying Negroes, West Indian Haitians, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans because, the fact is that you're the chosen people of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Okay. All right. So let's just you shall own nothing and be happy, but in all reality, but let's read it. All right. This is Ecclesiasticus, the 10th chapter, and the Apocrypha, and the 8th verse. Which the Apocrypha, when you get, they still have Bibles right now that have the Apocrypha in it. So the Apocrypha was a part of the Bible. But the so-called white man, Esau, took the Apocrypha out of the Bible. Okay? And brothers still have Bibles, 1611 editions that still have the Apocrypha in it. Okay? It says, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries. Yeah, well, that's what Esau, the so-called white man, is all about. Unrighteous dealings. He stole his land. He said he sold the land to the Native Americans, the tribe of Gad, for a bag of beads. That's a damn lie. But, they took the land, but, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit. Yeah, so everything that the so-called white man has gotten, it's by deceit. It's by lies. Okay? It's by lies and trickery, everything that the so-called white man got, really, to be honest with you, is through the sword. But any dealings that he had with the so-called Latinos, Native Americans, Hispanics, okay, and Seminole Indians, Haitians, and Dominicans, he got it by deceit and lies, and it's the same thing that he's doing today. He's charging you all these taxes, which, I mean, you're only supposed to give 10%, okay, according to the law, statutes, and commandments, but the gefilte fish eaters, the small hats, the little hat wearers, they charge you extra, all this interest in every goddamn thing, you're supposed to be able to roam in America freely, when you pay for a bus or you pay for a train, okay, or you pay to go across states, they have the stations that you have to pay for, Okay, but that's not how they set it up when they first set things up here in America. You know, tariffs and so forth. It says, and riches got by deceit. You know, they claim they sold. They claim they brought New York City, Manhattan, for a bag of bees that they gave to the Native Americans, which is the tribe of Gad. It says the kingdom, which is the kingdom where so-called Negroes, West Indian, Haitians, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, us Hispanics are going to be ruling in, okay, which is the kingdom of heaven, where we're going to be under the rulership of Yahweh through his son, Yahweh Shai, okay, all right. It says the kingdom is translated from one people to another, okay, so the kingdom is going to be translated from the so-called white man and his rulership, which we're in the rulership of the so-called white man now. You know, Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, you know. So we under the kingdom of Esau, okay. You know, we're under their subjection, all right. Sub means under, ejection means rule, under the rule of Esau, which is the so-called white man, okay. And he is not white like a white tee you may wear, okay. His blood shows forth through his skin, okay. He has no melanin in his skin, okay. He's translucent. You can see the blood coming through his skin, okay, showing through his skin, okay, all right. So it says the kingdom is translated from one people to another. So let's go to the kingdom is going to be transferred from so-called white man ruling to the so-called black man, starting with Yahweh Shai, okay, all right, and the elect men of the nation of Israel, okay, all right, you know, starting with King David, okay, all right, like the scriptures say, he's going to raise up the tabernacle. He's going to raise up the tabernacle of David from old, you know, saying it verbatim. You know what I'm saying? You know, so David is going to be right under Yahweh Shai, and you're going to have the rest of the 12 apostles. All right. All right. And then from down, it's going to be the rest of the 144,000. That's going to be the governing body of the nation of Israel. You can read Revelations. It goes into it 12,000 from each tribe. Okay. And then the rest of the 1/3 of the nation of Israel. Okay. The men of Israel. Then you're going to have women that's going to be saved. And you're going to have sons and daughters that's going to be saved as well. And then the 2/3 of you so-called Negroes, West Indian, Haitians, Latinos, and Native Americans, Hispanics, and similar Indians, you're going to come back through the 1/3, the 144,000, and the rest of the 1/3. Okay. All right. So the kingdom is going to go from Esau ruling, which is a so-called white man, to the 12 tribes of Israel ruling under Yahweh Shai. All right. And King David. Okay. All right. So, yeah, so we all going to rule. So, you know, Esau, you know, these NATO and the EU, you know, the gefilte fish eaters, the small hats, you know, the little hat wearers, you know, they're talking about you shall own nothing and be happy. But wait a minute, Esau, everything that you got going to be translated to who? To the 12 tribes of Israel under Yahweh Shai. Okay, which is a so-called black man. If he was walking the earth today, that's what you would call him. Okay, so you ain't gonna, but the only thing with you is you're gonna own nothing and you're not gonna be happy. See, that's the difference. Okay? So let's go to Second Ezra, the 6th chapter and the 9th verse. All right. Just going to go into it. So, you're going to own nothing, Esau, which is the so-called white man, and you're not going to be happy. And we're going to get that. Second Ezra, the 6th chapter, 9th verse. All right. It says, for Esau, which is the so-called white man, the gefilte fish eaters as well, they're just the grandson of Esau, which the gefilte fish eaters, the small hats, the little hat wearers, you know, the real estate agents, they're in rulership in the earth because, the international banking families like the Rothschilds and so forth. It says, for Esau is the end of the world. So your end is coming, Esau, so-called white man, gefilte fish eaters. Your end is coming. You're not going to be in rulership. Now you talking about they shall own nothing and be happy. Listen, you ain't gonna own nothing in the kingdom. Okay, you're not gonna even own your own life. That's gonna be control of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai under the men of the nation of Israel, so-called Negroes, West Indian, Haitians, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans. For Esau is the end of the world, so your rulership is going to end. And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So, once Esau goes down, the so-called white man, once his kingdom is destroyed by Yahweh Shai and the nuclear missiles, then that's the time for Jacob's rulership. Okay? But it's going to be an everlasting rulership, like it tells you in the book of Daniels. All right? All right? So you're not going to own anything, but you're not going to be happy. Okay? All right? So let's go to Luke. What is it? Luke the 16th chapter. Luke the 16th chapter. Okay. Luke the 16th chapter. Excuse me. Yeah, Luke the 16th chapter. And the 20, well, let's go to maybe 23 or something like that. Luke the 16th chapter. All right. Okay, let's start at the 22nd chapter. All right, Luke 16th chapter and the 22nd verse. And it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. Yeah, so the beggar represents Israel, and the rich man represents Esau, the so-called white man. All right. And in hell, he lift up his eyes, being in torments, and see if Abraham afar off and Lazarus in his bosom. So the rich man lifted up his eyes when he's in the kingdom, and when Israel, which are you so-called Negroes, West Indian, Haitians, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native American Seminole Indians, when you have Esau, which is the so-called white man, in the slavery, what he's going to be in. Okay? What is he going to be in? He's going to be in torments. Okay? He's going to be getting whipped on his back. He's going to be getting hung. Okay? He's going to be in mines, digging for precious metals like gold, silver, precious stones. He's going to be getting tortured. He's going to work up from sunup to sundown, except for the Sabbath and the other holy convocations. But he's going to have a real super bad time in the kingdom, man, where the rulership is going to be under Yahweh Shai and the nation of Israel. Okay? Which are you so-called Negroes, West Indian, Haitians, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans. So it says, and in hell, he lift up his eyes being in torments. So he's going to have nothing, because remember the scriptures say the kingdom is going to be translated from one people to another. So all the riches that the Rothschilds and the Bilderbergs and all them other international Jewish banking families is going to be given back to the nation of Israel, who it belongs to. Okay? All their riches, all their gold, all the land, everything. Well, except for America. America is going to be completely destroyed. Okay? But all the riches and everything that they got is going to be translated to the nation of Israel. And Israel is going to be ruling. And when I say Israel, I'm talking about so-called Negroes, Haitians, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans, and Seminole Indians. All right? So he's going to be in torment. So he's going to own nothing, but he's not going to be happy. Because he's going to be in pure, unadulterated, 100% torments. Okay? Now, when the Sabbath comes, we're not going to put our hands on them, the nation of Israel. Why? Because that's going to be a time of rest. That's a day of rest according to the law, statutes, and commandments. But all them pains and everything, he going to get whipped throughout the whole week before the Sabbath comes in. Oh, he going to still feel it. He going to feel them whips and them bruises and them broken bones and everything. Okay, so he's going to own nothing, but he's not going to be happy. Just like how the elites went, cared in their rulership, the elite international banking families, all right, the gefilte fish eaters, the small hats, the little hat wearers. They want us to, really, they don't want us to be happy, but they're figuring, okay, these people are so stupid. The peons are so stupid. When we bring in the cashless society, we bring out the C-hip, they're going to own nothing, but they're going to be happy. But Esau, you're not going to own nothing, but you're not going to be happy. Now, we know this amongst our people, Negroes, West Indian Haitians, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans, Seminole Indians. We know how 2/3 of them, how simple-minded they are. As long as you get some lousy rap music, some how can I say this? One of the black queens, that you can have sex with from time to time, and she could take you to child support and divorce you and all that. But as long as you can wear some fake jewelry and some diamonds, hey man, Negroes, West Indian Haitians, Latinos, Native Americans are basically happy with that, yo. But Esau, okay, maybe you can watch the game, who's gonna be who's gonna win a championship in football and basketball and baseball and so forth. Niggas to smoke weed because it's illegal now. Hey man, shit. Basically, Negroes, West Indian Haitians, Latinos, Native Americans are basically happy. Okay. But Esau, the so-called white man, is going to be in torment. Okay. He's going to catch pure unadulterated hell. He's going to get his ass whooped by Yahweh Shai and so-called Negroes, West Indian Haitians, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans, Seminole Indians, the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay. All right. It says, and it came to pass, the 22nd verse again, that the beggar died, which is Israel, the nation of Israel, okay, and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died, which is Esau, the so-called white man, and was buried. And in hell he lift up his eyes, being in torments, and seeth Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom. Okay. And because Lazarus is talking about the nation of Israel, which is going to be in the kingdom ruling over the so-called white people. and all the other heathen nations, all right? The Africans, Arabs, and so forth. And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me. Wow. Wow, boy, Esau gonna have the nerve. The so-called white man gonna have the nerve to ask for mercy. But hey, this is how the scriptures say, this is how it has to play out. And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. Hey, Esau, well, you're not going to have nothing and you're not going to be happy. All right? Okay? I know you got them blind so-called Negroes, West Indian Haitians, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans, Seminole Indians, but you have an elect out here. Okay? Amongst them. All right? Amongst so-called Negroes, West Indian Haitians, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Okay? That's not ignorant of Satan's devices. Okay? All right? You know? All right? I know you done gave the black woman child support. You don't let her get a divorce. No fault divorces. You can divorce your man for any. You just wake up the black woman just wakes up one day and said, I don't want to be with you no more. Because she hopping on other rods. Latinos and Native American women too. West Indian Haitian women too. They doing the same shit as the nigger woman. Just a nigger woman, she's the worst at it. Okay, she's doing the most. I know you've been giving them Section 8 and all this stuff and welfare and all this stuff, but hey, and I know they blind to you. Happy fucking New Year. What's so happy about the goddamn New Year, man? You still in hell, man. It's just another year in hell. It's another day in hell. Black woman, she got all these goddamn useless degrees and she can't find a goddamn job. All right? So what's so happy about the damn New Year? Negroes, West Indian Haitians, Latinos, and Native Americans are still getting shot down by the police. What's so happy about the damn New Year? And this ain't the goddamn New Year, man. All right? Okay? So, yeah, and Abraham said, remember that thou in thy lifetimes receivedest thy good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. Yeah, because Lazarus, Israel's catching hell. But Esau, the gefilte fish eaters, they was living good. And a lot of you so-called white people is living good too, man. Okay? Millionaires and so forth, companies, getting all the credit you want, It's starting to go down, but hey, listen, you had the good life, all right? You had so-called Negroes, West Indian Haitians, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans, Seminole Indians at the bottom, and you was on the top, all right? Okay? And likewise, Lazarus evil things, but now he is comforted, and thou art tormented. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Israel gonna be in the kingdom, ruling, comforted, being comforted, having the best of everything, and Esau, you gonna be down at the bottom, tormented. You're gonna have nothing. No, you're gonna own nothing, but you're not gonna be happy because you're gonna be tormented. All right? Okay? Mentally and physically. Okay? So I hope you've been edified, and with that, shalom.